we met in China. Surprise, surprise. At a green event in China. And I knew he was living here, and he had told me about his recycling station. And I thought, let's check out this condo. And you know, I decided, okay, this seems like a nice place. The party is out there, you know. Yeah. Let's move into Seri Raja Chulan condo. So, and the recycling station was on Gregor's floor. We can go up there in a while. You'll see the historical recycling station. It was just on one floor, and it was the old style. Gregor's was collecting it and then bringing it to the recycling station. I'm always wondering, the cleaners must have thought, this nasty Matsala guy, he is taking away our valuable recyclables. And he is collecting it and he is bringing it to the recycling station to make money from it. It wasn't because of making the money, it was just to do the recycling. But at that time, we hadn't really talked with the cleaners. You didn't realize they are recycling themselves, right? So it was, I think, April 2009, when we were doing this big mega tree planting event at Raja Musa Peat Swamp Forest. I think we had 1,000 people turning up. It was the biggest ever tree planting event. Maybe anyone here who was there? Bernard? Adrian?
Yeah.
It's 2009, it was very wet, it was very swampy, everything was flooded. We had this big tree planting event and we were kind of overwhelmed by roughly 1,000 people turning up. That was like the biggest tree planting event ever in the Raja Musa Peat Swamp Forest. And Alam Flora was there. And then we were talking, and then I saw the Alam Flora guy. I said, hey, come. Why don't you visit our condo? Let's see whether we can make the condo recycling happen in all the condo, whether you guys, Alam Flora, can help us. Then you went with Alam Flora, and they said, oh, we cannot. You know, we can't really pick up, you know, separate. And then we realized the cleaners recycle already. Let's work with the cleaners. Let's make it happen. Let's give the cleaners the chance to have a higher recycling rate by setting up a system that makes it easier for the cleaners to pick up all over the condo separated waste. Because at the moment what they have to do is they have to recover the recyclables from the mixed up rubbish that includes curry, sauce, and all sorts of other makan all over the place. So, but they still recovered 100 kilos of mainly paper waste and some aluminium cans. We will see the statistics later on. The nice thing is we've got all the data because they were selling it, so they had all of the receipts. So we can show over the years exactly how the recycling rate developed. And then after Gregor's discussed with the cleaners and the condo management, the conclusion was made, yes, we're going to implement it, one shelf for paper and cardboard, and one separate bin for bottles, cans, and plastic bottles. Job done. In addition to that, Gregor said, hey, let's keep the heavy metals away from the normal household waste. I think it was last year, which water reservoir was it? One of the water reservoirs was closed down because there was toxic leachate coming from one of the waste disposal sites. Batteries, CDs, and some other heavy metal loaded stuff like your computers, people throwing in normal household waste. A couple of years later, the heavy metals in that waste, you know, the bacteria start eating into it. Some of the heavy metals get diluted, they go into the water, then the water kind of moves into the rainwater reservoir. That's exactly what happened half a year ago. One of the water reservoirs was actually closed down and some of the water supply in KL was stopped for a while. People don't really make that connection. They just throw everything in the bin, and we kind of felt it was good to keep the batteries and the CDs separate. So you will see that later on as well. There's an extra little container to keep the batteries and the CDs separated from the normal household waste. If you implement it in your condo, it's nice to do it, but I would say it's not an absolute necessity. The key important thing is get the paper separated and the cardboard, get the cans. The cans is the most valuable, aluminium. to produce aluminium in the first place requires huge amounts of electricity. That's why in Sarawak, some of those over-spec, unnecessary hydro dams that are being built, the only way they can make them work commercially is by attracting aluminium smelters there. Because aluminium smelters are some of the world's most energy-intense industries. So recycling aluminium is commercially very viable because you need a fraction of the energy to melt the aluminium and turn it into a can again compared to using raw aluminium. So that's why aluminium cans are fetching the highest price of the recyclables usually. So aluminium cans, very, very good. Plastic, okela, glass, there's hardly any market in Malaysia for glass recycling. It could even be a business opportunity. In some other countries, people turn glass into construction industry aggregate. Now, under Green Building Index, you can get extra points for recycled aggregates. If you would have a machinery that turns it into not sharp but round, different size recycled aggregates, you might actually be able to turn it into a valuable material for the construction industry. But at this point in time, it's very difficult to find a buyer for recycled glass. So paper, good market. Cans, excellent market. Plastic, okela, and glass, difficult. By the way, this is Crystal. Hi, Crystal. Crystal has been helping us to kind of coordinate this event and set up the group on Facebook. She just finished her course at TAR College, and she's been volunteering to help us with this initiative. So one applause for Crystal. So I will hand over to Gregors, who is the real mastermind. Hi. Iqbal, Recycle and Reward. One of the guys you can sell your recyclable items to. So the real mastermind behind the initial recycling system and the design of our recycling system that you will see there, Gregors,
Thank you.
over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for coming.